Welcome to our presentation of the Fernstudent and our case study on improvements of hybrid teaching through a physical avatar in the classroom. Starting with a short intro to the context and motivation, namely teaching during and post-corona, a brief overview of our methods, the resulting concept for hybrid teaching, first findings from field tests, and finally limitations, what we learned so far and where to go next. So the situation where we came from was the post-corona phase. During the pandemic, when interpersonal encounters had to be avoided, many universities adapted to online lectures. And so after the pandemic, a question at hand was, will we just return to the same mode of teaching as before Corona? Or is there anything we learned and might want to retain? When talking to students, it turned out that many of them would like to keep the option for remote participation and advantages like participation in case of illness and general flexibility in case of travels or conflicting appointments. So an obvious solution would be hybrid teaching, a combination of on-site and digital teaching in a synchronous live session where remote students follow the lecture using an online platform with the opportunity to post questions or comments via chat. But there are also some particular challenges of hybrid teaching, like higher technical effort to prepare the session, a worse level of presence for remote students, and a lack of implicit non-verbal communication. And this results in inferior interaction quality, decrease of motivation among remote students, less practice in active learning and critical thinking, an increased mental workload for teachers, so in sum, high costs, low rewards, and often low motivation to implement hybrid teaching on the teacher side. So this led us to the questions, how can we overcome these challenges and how could a suitable hybrid teaching concept look like? I will just sum up our method. Don't have the time to show all the steps in detail. We started with a requirements analysis and conducted first interviews with students and two teachers, called Tom and Peggy, leading to foundational concept requirements, then built first prototypes, did another round of interviews. These resulted in more specific requirements. Then first functional prototypes, which we could use in a field test, and based on these experiences, plans for revisions and future developments of the concept. So just to give you an idea of the course of concept development, in the requirements analysis, a main issue mentioned by teachers and students was the split audience. So on the one side, the motivated on-site students, and on the other side, the remote students somewhere in the background, maybe also gone, and no real unity between these two groups. This already starts with the modality of interaction. So many people felt that we somehow have to bring both student groups on one level in visibility, modality, social interaction, and their appearance in the room. And of course, hybrid teaching is exhausting to manage. Looking at the chat and the live audience at the same time, you feel like you have to be in two places at once, which can be quite frustrating and of course impairs the teaching quality. So in sum, we derived 4 central requirements for our new concept of hybrid teaching: a similar experience for both students groups, decent interaction capabilities, low mental workload for teachers, and a seamless integration in on-site lectures. Our first vision to tackle this challenge was to develop an avatar for remote students, which we called Fernstudent, a German word for someone studying at a remote university. So there should be some physical shape to represent remote students and give them the same interaction options like the on-site students, like looking around, listen to the lecture, raising your arm in case of you want to ask a question, and so on, just like a real person. So this is quite similar to a telepresence robot, but not with a one-to-one relation, but one robot representing many remote students. And this resulted in several feature requests, like audio and video transmission in both directions, a physical embodiment, maybe in an anthropomorphic shape, interaction capabilities like raising the arm or lighting a lamp, and also some sort of state transparency, like how many remote students are represented by the avatar. Are there 5 or 50 or even more? We experimented with different types of appearance. These are examples developed by students in a practical course on experience design. And we finally decided for quite a minimalistic shape, also to maximize the acceptance for all students. This rendering shows a minimalistic prototype with all implemented features. The acrylic body was designed in a way that it has a size similar to a student if placed on a chair. And you can find the details of the technical implementation in our paper. Basically, the remote students join a Jitsi server. The avatar's features are controlled by an Arduino Uno microcontroller, and a React app mediates between these components. And here we see the physical prototype in a classroom. The LED matrix shows the connected students, so how many are there, and the LED ring indicates that a student wants to interact, like raising the hand. And based on this prototype, we also could do first field tests, where we used the Fernstudent in 2 different lectures over the course of 1 semester. And to have a reference point, we used Jitsi, which is a common video conference tool, as a control condition. So we could contrast 2 different hybrid teaching technologies, Jitsi versus Fernstudent, and 2 different participation modes, remote versus on-site, where the students could choose for themselves whether they wanted to attend on-site or remote. So in experimental terms, we realized a 2-by-2 setting. And we collected survey evaluations after each session by students and teachers, and in addition, a closing evaluation with in-depth interviews with the teachers, which we then analyzed by qualitative content analysis. And here, one cluster of mentions referred to the stress reduction and overall relaxed atmosphere. Is stated here, all the stress of switching between background task and presentation view is gone, a very relaxed situation. The technology shift to the background, teachers could focus on the content and the students. So there's like a transfer of responsibility from teacher to technology. And the interaction felt quite natural, underlined the pleasant social interaction. The form was also rated as appropriate. And also teachers experienced the remote students as more present, and both groups of students more like one category. So you just had more of an impression of your audience and how many people you're actually talking to. Also, from the students' perspective, the presence of the remote students was higher when using the Fernstudent compared to Jitsi. This is some data of our survey. And remote students also felt more motivated to raise their hand and engage in interaction in the Fernstudent compared to the Jitsi sessions. So interestingly, for the on-site students, the effect was reversed, which is not obvious to explain and needs further investigation. So to wrap up and coming back to our initial 4 objectives, the concept could improve the social presence of remote students, make their interaction requests more salient, lower the mental workload for teachers, and the physical avatar could elevate remote students to the same level as on-site students, physically and conceptually. Of course, there are some points to improve and further steps needed, like testing the concept in different disciplines and universities. On the technical level, we have to address the recurring audio issues, work on the portability, and also we want to further improve the experience of remote students, especially their awareness of their representation in the classroom. And of course, we would be happy to send the Fernstudent to other universities beyond Munich and learn from your experiences. Yeah, so just contact us, and thank you very much for your attention.